Okay, so now we will go to two questions each for the speakers. These questions were sent in for our readers, and we will go in accordance to the earlier lineup, the earlier the speakers which went first. So the first two questions will be given to YB Sivarasa. The questions are, the first question is that, what concrete plans have the Malaysian opposition laid down to show it truly engenders press independence, apart from lamenting that the press in Malaysia is controlled? Would the opposition also control the press to its advantage if it comes to power? That's the first question. The second question is that, it's a quote, "My parents, who are dead now, they were pendatang from India when they became Malaysian citizens. I am now 60 plus, born in Malaysia, so I am a first generation Malaysian. My children are now the second generation, and my grandchildren are third generation Malaysians. Do you think that we should still need to segregate ourselves as Malay, Chinese, and Indians, or just refer to us as Malaysians?" And it adds on that, my children don't seem to have any loyalty to this country because they feel that they are second-class citizens. You have about 3 minutes to answer these two questions.
Thank you, Premis, for those two questions. The first one on freedom of the media, press freedom. What will Pakatan do if we are running the country? The answer to that is actually not just coming from my mouth now. We've written it down. We've written it down in the Buku Jingga, and we spelt it out in a bit more detail in the alternative budget which we put forward in Parliament in response to the Barisan Nasional budget last year. And I'm going to just read you quickly what we said specifically in terms of the media. We said we will repeal, and we're not talking about amendments here, we will repeal the Printing Presses and Publications Act 1984. First step. In lieu of this, an independent and self-regulating media council will be put in place. That's exactly what we will do. RTM will be, as an institution, will be managed by media professionals based on the example of the BBC and placed under the purview of Parliament. And this is critical to the freedom of journalists, to enable journalists to function professionally and independently, to abolish the Official Secrets Act and enact a Freedom of Information Act at all levels of government, equipped with the necessary infrastructure. This will ensure access to all information of public interest. That's our commitment. It's in black and white. And if you, the people of Malaysia, decide to give us federal power, this is what we will put in place. The second question about referring to us as Malaysians. I think that is something that the spirit reflected in that question, and I suppose that's coming from a non-Malay person, from the sound of it. I think reflects a yearning that is really, quite universal now in our country. I think a lot of people are expressing that sentiment. We want to be known as Malaysians. Yes, we are Indians. Yes, we are Iban, Kadazan, Chinese, Orang Asli, whatever, but we are Malaysians. And I think we will find increasingly, as with the next generation. I mean, I take a look at my nephews and nieces within my own family. If I ask them, what are you? Are you Indian? Are you Chinese? Are you Malay? They can't answer the question because mom is Malay, father's Indian. Mom's Chinese, father's Indian. Mom's half Chinese. And even religion, every religion is in the family. And this is the next generation. What about the generation after that? It will be a meaningless question to speak about race, which is why those of us who think increasingly or who still think in terms of race are really going to find themselves dinosaurs, pretty soon.
Thank you, YB Sivarasa. just to inform the audience that we are having live updates on Mkini's Facebook and Twitter. It's also being live streamed on Malaysiakini TV. Thanks to our technology team. Let's give them a big clap. I've got a whole bunch of questions, but I think there's a box going around. If any of you have got more questions, do pass it to Jess at the back. Okay, so we'll proceed to the next the questions for YB, Rahman, Dahlan, and we'd like you to answer these questions. We'll have a time a bit later to rebut what has already been spoken by the other speakers. So the question 1 says that can UMNO and BN guarantee a peaceful and swift power transition if Pakatan wins the next general election, even by 1 seat majority? That's question number 1. The second question is, if democracy, Malaysian democracy is truly moving forward, why then are overseas Malaysians still not given the right to register as overseas voters and exercise their rights to cast their ballot overseas? You have 3 minutes to respond.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Are we going to let go of the government peacefully? Of course, yes. And I can tell you why. We respect the wishes of the people. I give an example. In 2004, we almost won Kelantan. Webby? Kelantan won by 1 seat, and that 1 seat majority was won by a 2-vote majority. And despite almost 20 years, lost Kelantan, we did not do anything. We gave it to them fair and square. We allowed them to continue to become government despite what most of people are saying how bad UMNO is. That's number 1. Number 2, if you look at Sabah, for example, there were some commotions in 1992, 1985, when PBS almost took over. And I can tell you, the main player was the current Ketua Umum of Keadilan. Yeah, but then you should say sorry first. Yeah. Well, like I said, I think it's very important for us to understand. If you ask me, I think the opposition is quite afraid of losing that opportunity to become a government coming GE13. The reason I'm saying so is because, I'm sorry that Ambiga, you are here, but I have to talk about Bersih as well. I believe the violence on April 28 was a warning to Malaysians that the opposition will not tolerate losing the GE13. That's my opinion. Well, obviously I have not brought my cheerleaders today. I came alone. As usual, in all the debates that I go to, I came alone. Yeah, I don't have cheerleaders to tell me. But that's my point. My point is, what the opposition is trying to say is that if we lose the GE13, then it's not fair and free. Therefore, we're going to go to the streets. That's why, well, I don't know, 100,000. Some people say 50. Some, if you ask Anwar, it's 250,000 people on the street. So it is not UMNO who is afraid of losing power. I think we have I think Webi Gan has mentioned just now that we freely gave our government, state governments, crown jewels of Malaysia some more. Selangor, Penang, Perak, we took it back lah. Yeah. You wanted to, you accepted Adun Bota. Okay, you must, I give you the sequence. I love sequence. Anwar wanted to buy off 30 MPs of BN in September 2008. Then in January, you accepted Adun Bota. And then he returned with 2 other of you guys. I mean, your guys. Okay, so I'm just saying that I will talk about Perak if the question comes later on, but I'm just saying I think in no way we will create problems for the country. We believe, I personally, I don't know, I have spoken to all my colleagues in Barisan and also in UMNO. We are going to be professional about this. If we lose, we lose. That's no way that we're going to turn this country into a pariah state, third world country. That I can assure you.
The second part.
I don't know. I mean, I think that Ambiga have brought this in Bersih. But I was told recently that after what, I didn't follow this. I'm so sorry, but correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Ambiga. But I was told that the Election Commission was mentioning that only 500 of all the thousands of people overseas so far registered as registering as voters. I'm so sorry. I don't want to quote any wrong statistics, or I did not follow that particular argument. I'm so sorry. But if you want, you can email me. I will try to find the answer and email you back. My email is very simple, mpkotabelud@yahoo.com.
Okay, no problem. I think that there was an article in Malaysiakini today about many of our foreign missions not knowing how to register voters or not given instructions by the EC on the procedures to register them as voters. We'll move quickly along to the to questions for YB Mujahid, Yusof. Question 1, can PAS guarantee that they will not leave Pakatan to join UMNO in order to implement hudud if PR takes power federally? That's the first question. And for the second question, for democracy to flourish, the eradication of corruption must be taken seriously. Please state clearly what are PR's plans, if any, to eliminate corruption so that Malaysia march to a greater democracy is not subverted. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. The first question on can we guarantee? I think we have been saying this all over again, that the issue of PAS joining UMNO does not arise. We have already shut the door, and we think we want to move forward. And let me just get this straight, that it is not something that, you see, when we talk about Malay unity, why are we talking about PAS and UMNO? You see, when we win, it's not about the Malay will lose. UMNO will lose. The Malay will still be there. The Malay deserve a better, and I think PAS can offer, and we have proven that in Kelantan, and he mentioned it nicely about how with only 1 seat, we can still maintain with only 3 votes. That's the fact that we are very morally principled party. And I think the issue of, I'm not God to say that, no, you know, but as for what we have today, it's not about PAS joining UMNO, it's about Pakatan Rakyat, where PAS is, we want to give a better offer to the Malaysian. That's the issue. It's not about joining. We talk about corruption. Yeah, definitely there is an issue of corruption here, where I think most of the issue of corruption arises, number one, greediness. When you have a very strong party, very strong leaders who talks about racial line and all that, so they will just verify that they do this because of the nation, giving the responsible to the parliament, to be responsible over the Suruhanjaya pencegahan rasuah Malaysia, Suruhanjaya hak asasi manusia. So SPRM in its form today must be strengthened. Number one. Number two, open tender, as just what we are doing in our Pakatan state. And number three is the issue of doing project, not because we want to do it to put it in our pocket. Do the project because the people deserve that project. So I think this will help to see that corruption is not just one thing. Corruption is about many factors that we need to understand. So SPRM will be duly under the Parliament. We will maintain open tender policy where there will be, and we will not get politicians involved in any of the tender. Even if we have our family there, we will make sure that they will not get their chance to even tender in the project from the government. I think this has got some moral sense in it. I think that's my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, YB Mujahid. The last questions are to YB Gun. Question number 1 is, why is it so difficult for the government of the day to fulfill Bersih's demands? Why UMNO, MCA, MIC and BN, the coalition, does not want to clean the electoral roll? That's the first question. Second question, when can the Rakyat expect the election to be over? When can the Rakyat expect the election to be over? As the rate the government is spending the billions of ringgit, in no time will the country go bankrupt. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you for the questions and whoever they raised that. Now, the Bersih's demand. I think we have different construing the Bersih's demand in a very differently. First and foremost, and I always find that the 8 demands of Bersih. If you ask most people, probably they don't understand what is demand. If you're talking about fighting corruption, couch in those general terms, Dr. Ambiga, excuse me for saying that, if you couch in very general terms, it's not a very specific demand. Well, I'm just telling you I've done it. You may disagree. So there are also certain demands that I find very strange. For example, they were talking about 21 days of election campaign period. This is not in the 1960s. This is not in the 1970s. Since 2008, every day is campaigning period for both political divide. And now, Ibrahim Lingwanin, and for that matters, Nick Aziz or Hadiawang has been campaigning every day in, day out. I'm campaigning every day in, day out anyway. And I must say, I pity certain constituency, hell or huge, in Sarawak in particular, from one end to the other end, you probably have to walk for 24 hours, and probably you can't even access going on a boat and walking there. But you do not win, you're not supposed to win an election campaign over 21 days. With the new telecommunications, new communication tools and methods, I don't see why we should have such an extended period of election campaign. And mind you, the whole election campaign is all democratic process is done at a cost, and the cost for every single day of campaigning is huge. And with all the civil servants involved in the election commission's work, and this is productivity will come to a standstill for that 1 month period at least. So I'm quite doubtful whether this is something's very good. And of course, and as to this, you have to say which specific demand that has not been fulfilled. And they've gone on the YouTube to say that we have answered to 7 out of 8, but some will not agree with that, and some will probably agree with that. So coming to when the election will be over and the country will be bankrupt and all that, I thought this is a very glossily simplified way I was explaining. Firstly, there are some people may ask, why we have a system, why can't we just fix the date? Fix the date every 4 years and 6 months, or every 5 years, on that day with an election campaign, and we have an election day. No, that sounds very good. But we are following the Westminster system. But actually, I begin to think about it. Why not we do it that way? But even if we were to do it that way, what if it falls on the day is Hari Raya, or during that festive season? And if it falls on the day of, for example, when it falls on the days of people going for pilgrimage, going for Hajj. And why is that? Why is that the Westminster systems and allows that to go on in most Commonwealth countries? Now, if you want the questions, that's well and fine. And just put the motions into the parliaments, we can debate about it, whether we should have that. And we say country go bankrupt, and I suppose please put it very specifically. All I know is country will go bankrupt according to MCA's assessments abolishing the 43 billions of debt and contracted debt of PTPTN, and free toll for everything, and what else? What else when they were free? Minimum family incomes of 4,000, all that. All add up, these countries would run into budget deficits that you cannot, cash flow problem within 2 years, and that is what we call bankrupt. But even then, my dear friends, I remember some of the PKR people who quote, Idris Jala said in 2019 this country will go bankrupt. Now, Idris Jala is a corporate figure. YB Sivarasa will understand. When I was a lawyer and I wind up people's company, the companies reach a lot of assets, but because of cash flow problem, if they don't pay on demand, 21 days you don't pay up the debt, and therefore you have run into cash flow problem, I want to wind up a company, and therefore it's known as bankrupt or insolvent in the legal technical terms. And that was the reason why the governments do transformation. That to ensure if we go on to the budget deficit, subsidies mentalities going on, everything free, and we come to that at one stage, before 2020, we will run into budget deficits that we cannot control. And that is the reason why, when they say bankrupt, please read in the true context. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now move from the questions of the floor. There are really a lot of questions in front of me, and I'm trying to go through them and pick the appropriate ones. Please bear with me. We'll start with the first question to YB Sivarasa from the audience. The audience finds that the opposition, the Pakatan Rakyat, often issues gag orders to its fellow members of Pakatan. How does the idea of a gag order fit the definition? A gag order means they can't say some things. They got not to comment on certain things, right? How does the gag order fits a definition of democracy which Pakatan, Rakyat expresses? 2 minutes.
Thank you, Premish. Just can I take 30 seconds before I get to that question? Because YB Gan was talking about Westminster. Just a very brief response. Gan, you should appreciate, yes, we inherited the Westminster system, but for the information of everybody present, last year in September, the Westminster system changed. It passed a law to fix the date of the election. The UK election will be held in May 2013. Now, just very quickly, Rahman,
Siva,
you keep saying...
Can we answer the question? We'll
okay,
come back to
very
rebuttal.
quick. Okay, fine. All right. I've got to follow the chairman's orders. Gag orders. No, hey, first of all, we don't... I'm trying to understand the question. Gag orders in the sense of party discipline are possible. I mean, if party members go out there and criticize the party, that's not allowed. But any party won't allow it. You will issue gag orders. But apart from that context, I think all political parties, including political coalitions, will do their best to resolve differences internally. And that's why sometimes an instruction to go out, stop quarreling in public, do it internally. But I don't think we will take it that far to stop, honestly held opinions of, of differences of a policy and about, different approaches in policy issues. I think that's fair game to have disagreements and different views expressed in public. That will not be stopped. But what we're talking about is internal disagreements going out. I think it's not inappropriate to issue gag orders and resolve those issues internally. Yeah. Can I just take 10 minutes back to that other one?
No.
I'll come back to it later.
We'll come back.
Okay.
We'll come back.
All right. I'm just itching to go back to that other issue.
Give you a chance.
Because Rahman has brought up, what is it?
Sure, you have a
September.
chance. No problem. Just a minute. So we're really trying to respond to the floor at the moment. We'll come back and respond to each other in a few minutes. YB Rahman, the question of PERA has come up in a number of questions here. 2 points. First of all, do you believe that the process, the takeover was peaceful? And was it done in a legitimate fashion? 2 minutes to respond.
Well, there could have been a better way of taking over PERA. But I take comfort in the fact that the Sultan was an ex-Lord President, and no, wait. I mean, I can't dismiss the fact that he knows the law, okay, and I go back to what started it, lah. You know, I mean, I don't know Undang-Undang Tubuh Perak. I was told that the Sultan actually called everybody, all the aduns, and to verify which particular chief minister or the Menteri Besar that they have confidence in. And the Sultan has had.
Sorry, can we off the handphones, please?
Yeah.
Whose handphone is on? Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. I was told that the Sultan had called everybody, and and majority of the aduns confessed or were informed the Sultan that their confidence was on Barisan Nasional, and on the Constitution of Perak is that the Menteri Besar must have the majority confidence, so that the confidence of majority of the aduns. I would love that a vote of confidence could have been taken, a vote of confidence in the State Assembly. But I think even if you had that, Barisan Nasional would win. The confidence of majority of the voters. Was that the question? What else?
So yeah, is it legitimate and was it peaceful?
I don't know about peaceful, but I think, again, like I said, looking back, when the Sultan was a Lord President, I think he knows the law. And the Undang-Undang Tubuh Perak, I believe he knew what he was doing. And it was just a matter of trying to... in fact, today, I mean, if Nizar feels that he is the legitimate MB, then he can call for a vote of no confidence in State Assembly of Perak and see who gets the majority or the confidence of majority of the aduns there. And that should settle it. Yeah? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. So the question of Perak has been addressed. We move on to YB Mujahid. We have somewhat interrelated questions, and I will ask both of them. How can Malaysian democracy be moving forward when the Sharia, as in the beginning, as is being equated with constitutional law? Okay. When the Sharia is beginning to be equated or equitable with the constitutionalized law or constitutional law. Hopefully I'm reading it correct. I think there's an understanding of what that means. And secondly, what is your party's stand on apostasy and freedom of religion related to the death penalty for those issues? 3 minutes to answer.
I'll go to the first question. First of all, we must understand that in our country, Sharia court and the civil court is in parallel. They have certain areas where the Sharia court has the jurisdiction and the civil court has the jurisdiction. And that is how it was done. And that is in the Constitution. So I wouldn't think the issue of Sharia in that sense, will hinder any democratic process because it is in the Constitution. That's number one. Number two, Sharia law has contributed a lot in the development of this country. It was used historically as the main law, and then when we were colonized, they introduced the common law, and that's where we get this two law parallel. And I think there's a lot of issues. I'm not saying that it is okay, in the sense that I'm not saying that it's perfect. It has a lot of issues which we think that the Sharia law and the civil law must meet at a point where both will contribute to the legal development in our country. That's number one. And it depends on how you interpret what Sharia is all about. If you think Sharia is just cutting off people's hand, if you think Sharia is just cutting off, when you steal, you get your hands chopped off and all that. Well, that's a very intellectual discussion. I don't think this is the floor. And number two, on the issue of apostasy, I have interacted in a lot of debates in the civil society on the issues of apostasy ataupun riddah. I believe that the issue of apostasy we need more intellectual discussion on this issue. It is in the essence of the Islamic teaching, but it's the interpretation. I personally, based on my knowledge, after what I have come through history and all that, apostasy is not about you changing the faith. In the historical context, apostasy is about you are going against the system. It's about traitor. So that need to redefine. Because in Islam, we respect the choice, not being suppressed by any reason to choose. You must choose it out of your own conscience, and you do it in respect with the law, then there is no issue of apostasy. I think the issue of apostasy is more on the issue of people using that as a political tools for their narrow interests on both sides. So it's not, we are not here to say because you know, I have to say PAS is good or I have to say Pakatan is good. I think we at the same time need to understand more, because I believe this is not about democracy and say we come into power, we will change, and democracy, voila, will come and everyone will live happily ever after. It is a long-going process. We need to go educate, culture, there is the political participation, political culture, and my time is up. Thank you very much.
Very much for that clarification on apostasy and Sharia. We'll move on to questions for YB Gun. I think two questions arising from what you have said earlier. The questions are on the floor. The question is that the BN has talked, you talked about the peaceful handover of Penang, Selangor and Perak in 2008. But the question is that why is it that recently the government is telling the people that if Pakatan takes over, there will be a lot of chaos and a lot of problems? You know, why is the government alluding to the fact that there will be chaos if Pakatan wins the next general election? That's the first question. The second question is that it's about the Linus PSC, which you also brought up. It's quoting the head of the PSC and saying that the aims of the Linus PSC is to give a better understanding about the rare earth refinery, quoting the Star, 4th of May 2012, and saying if the outcome of the PSC is already predetermined, as it would appear, then why go ahead with the Parliamentary Select Committee? The second question is that if the outcome of the Linus PSC, given that the fact that the head of PSC said that is to get a better understanding of the rare earth refinery, if the outcome is already predetermined, as in, you know, there's certain limitations to the Parliamentary Select Committee, then why would, you know, why is it necessary for the opposition to engage with the Parliamentary Select Committee? 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'll just answer the Linus question first. You're putting the cart before the horse again. You see, the whole idea of setting up a Parliamentary Select Committee is to engage the widest people. Even oppositions are invited to sit in and please get experts to come to tell your piece. And all this has been borne out by scientific facts. You ask me about the MSG or whatnot, I personally would not understand. So I also, as I said, I'm glad to say that the YB Chair Rosalie has been saying that there's nothing wrong. We even have someone coming from PAS as a local leader, as a doctor. He said this is against his conscience to say this is toxic. I don't know. Seriously, I have no idea whether it's toxic or not toxic, but I have to depend on what the experts tell me. We have experts coming from Canada, if I'm not mistaken, UK. There are 5 experts coming from overseas. I think YB Rahman is in the select committee, he knows a lot better. But what I'm saying is this, the whole process of engagement, consultative process, please participate, say your piece, borne out by evidence, and let the people to judge. But rather than you say this is a predetermined conclusion, please. I'm sure YB Rahman probably doesn't understand what is this all about, and he wants to listen, he wants to find out more. I don't know whether he get take offense by people saying that this is a predetermined outcome. So whatever things that is against your personal view is predetermined outcome, then we are not engaging in any rational argument about this. Now, second thing is about BN leaders is telling people, we are very concerned. We're worried when Pakistans take over, the PR take over, this country will be in chaos. this, let's put it this way, these are borne out by quite some incidents, some of the things that have taken place over the years. We are talking about, let me say, like Bersih, for example, it was peaceful. Other places were peaceful. When Ambiga said, okay, time to disperse, although I feel that there's no disperse mechanisms which has been done properly, but that's beside the point. And then, luckily, there was video clip. And of course, there's Anwar Ibrahim's given different explanation after another. Now that is under investigation. We leave it to the investigation to find out who is the real culprit. Why must people storm into the place which Ambiga was saying that, please do not enter? Now, this is a big question. They have to be answered. Now, that is about one particular incident. But you will see that the way, when we talk about Pakatan government, as I said, the Buku Jingle has left open a lot of fundamental questions unanswered. And Kedah is one of the examples, the ouster clause. The ouster clause where we're talking about democracy, separations of powers, and they pass the state law to oust the jurisdiction of court. Not only the Sharia court, even a civil court cannot be challenged. The fatwa's decision cannot be challenged. Is that what we want? So, and then you have a Penang. In fact, Kedah is past Kedah. Penang is DAP Penang. Selangor, PKR, and mixtures, and probably some more of a DAP. And there's this inconsistency, and they cannot, over some important decisions, cannot have a common platform and common ground. Eventually, they all agree to disagree. And you cannot run a government like that. Agree to disagree all the time. There must be some common grounds that we must find, common factors, common grounds. That is how we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're now going to proceed with the opportunity for the panelists to rebut some of the points made by their colleagues, and also to ask any question they want any of the colleagues to answer. So we will have 3 minutes for you to rebut any of the points brought up by other panelists and to pose any questions that you want the other panelists to answer. And we will start with YB Sivarasa. Now's your chance.
Fine, thank you, Pramesh. I think we were waiting for this moment to, it was getting quite difficult trying to contain ourselves. Right. Very quickly, because several times YB Rahman has said this expression, buying over MPs. In fact, you actually said, September 16, Anwar Ibrahim tried to buy over 30 MPs. Let me just bury that quickly. We don't have the money to buy 30 MPs. Okay? We just don't. What happened in Perak? Let me tell you what happened in Perak, because I have personal knowledge of this. What did they do to those 3 guys who crossed over? I can tell you what happened to the 2 PKR MPs, because I know they were set up in a fake corruption deal. They were arrested, pressured, and then they crossed. That's what happened. That case was quashed in court after that, after the whole deal was done. YB, she was bought. I will say it. She was bought. That was what happened. How much was paid? We'll find out one day when we do an investigation. All right, now, you keep talking about us not participating in Linus. Let me tell you why. It's not like we don't like to participate in select committees. We do. We participated in the Electoral Reform Committee. That's not an issue. Linus was different, because as far as we are concerned, Pakatan Rakyat is concerned, Linus is no-go. It is not acceptable. Linus, as far as we are concerned, is what you call the rogue investor. You bring shit from another country and bring it here. As far as we're concerned, keep it there. Keep it in Australia. Refine it there. We don't need that here. Now, let me tell you this. Do you know the first place that Linus are supposed to go to was Terengganu? Came out in the debate today. BN Terengganu government said no. Why? They said it reminded to them too much of the ARE episode in Perak. So why did Pahang say yes? You need to answer that. Now, so this is, so as far as we're concerned, look, these guys want to refine it. They can do it in Australia. They can do it 500 kilometers from the nearest town and then sell it to the rest of the world. Don't come here and pollute Gebeng and Pahang. Last point about the question of violence, yeah? Because that seems to be the repeated thing on coming across. Now, I think you can go out there and if you try to do an objective assessment of the violence in Bersih, let me say this, the violence, the real violence, I'm talking about violence means beating people with tear gas, with water cannon, with truncheons, came from those people wearing uniforms. I'll be happy to have that entire episode scrutinized by any independent committee, and we'll stand by that statement. Violence after PRU, there will not be there will be no violence. If there's a free and fair election, you win it fair, fine. There's no need to go on the street. But if you cheat and win, the people will go on the street. And I have no problem about the people going on the street if you cheat and win an election. All over the world, people have gone on the street because the election was fraudulent, and they were right to go on the street. Nobody is going to sit back and allow a fraudulent election to happen and the election stolen. And we make no apologies about that. My final point, although you're not signaling yet, I want to ask both Rahman and Gan. I mean, it's great that we are here. Like you said, we created a little democratic space here. But this is no thanks to BN. Be clear about that. This is thanks to Malaysiakini. This is the democratic space which we want, which you cherish, which we appreciate, created by Malaysiakini. You need to create that at a national level. You're running the government. You need to do that. That's what you owe the people. The very least, you owe the people of Malaysia that. You must create that, and that's what you're not doing. So I ask you now, are you ready to give us fair access to the TV, national radio? This discussion should happen on national television. That's what we want, in all the languages. We'll do it in English, we'll do it in Malay, in Chinese, in Tamil, in Iban, and Kadazan. Let's do that. Thank you.
Okay, a lot of questions asked there, and I noticed that you were shaking your head, so this is the opportunity to rebut the points put forward by Siva and Mujahid. Please go ahead.
How many minutes I have?
I'll give you a little extra because Siva took a little extra.
No, after all, because he got cheerleaders. So I'm all alone here. Let's put it this way, yeah? Wait. I've got so many things. First, YB Mujahid, he says that he wants to put, if they become government and come into power, they will put SPRM under the supervision of Parliament. Well, I have no problem with that. I think that is another way of looking at things. But let me say this to you. The way we do things here in Malaysia, politically, or parliament-wise, everybody follow the whip. If you put SPRM in Parliament, for example, right now, I mean, they're not a federal government at the moment, but we can look at the state assemblies where they are in power. Every time they make a decision, it is based on the whip. What does that mean? They follow their leaders, the government in their government. So when you have SPRM in Parliament, does not mean that SPRM will be free from the influence of the executive. It is not. I can tell you it is not. So it's not about the system. It is about how you approach SPRM. How do you give them, excuse me, do you give them the independence and the ability to do their work independently? It is not about putting them in Parliament or not. Okay, that's number one. It's very interesting to see, to hear, that YB Mujahid, my good friend, was saying, you know, when we become government, we will not allow our children to have projects. Well, fair, but these are the same people who have no qualms of putting their children and wives into the position of power in their party, who can decide tenders. Let's go all the way. If you do not practice cronyism or nepotism in terms of giving tenders, why do you allow your children to become the vice president of a party or a wife? I mean, let's be frank about this. you know, oh yeah, of course, Nurul Izzah, everybody say Nurul Izzah is an elected representative. Yes, but really, no, you look at the PAC Pulau Pinang, for example. Who heads the PAC in Pulau Pinang State Assembly? The son of Karpal Singh. Well, nothing wrong, of course nothing wrong. But when it happens to Barisan Nasional, everything goes wrong. Yeah? So what I'm saying to you is that if you really want to go and emphasize that you are practicing democracy, open discussion, and the ability of check and balance, walk the talk. You criticize RTM. Fine, I have my own problems with RTM. I think everybody should be on, I'm on record to say that I don't mind opposition to be on TV. I'm on record in Parliament. I have said many times, I don't mind. Really, I don't mind. Because I want the people to know how incredibly, well, I don't want to use the word stupid, but incredibly outrageous sometimes some of the arguments made by the opposition. So I'm on record to say. But let me tell YB Siva, walk the talk again. In a minute, in a smaller scale, in Selangor, for example, do you allow the opposition, i.e. the Barisan Nasional, equal access to Selangor Kini? Do you? You don't. Selangor Times? You don't. Selangor Kini, Selangor Times, and also Selangor TV? You don't. That, of course, those are state paid for by the state. Now, of course, it is not RTM lah, it is not TV3. But I'm just trying to say to you, prove it to us in a smaller scale, in places that you can control. In PAC Selangor, it is still under the opposition. Although it was offered to us last time, we said, please, you want to offer the chairmanship? Please offer us the majority in the PAC in Selangor, of which Pakatan Rakyat in Selangor refused to give us. In Kelantan, it is still held by PAS. In Kedah, it is still held by PAS. So, now, that's why I'm saying, you know, this is the only country, I suppose, 1 minute? Okay, just on corruption. I'm a member of the Special Committee on Corruption in Parliament, which is headed by Dato' Razi and also some of my friends from the opposition bloc. We are all in the committee. You know, my problem with how we approach corruption in this country is that it is always, I'm whiter than white, I'm cleaner than clean, and you are corrupted. And everybody is talking about corruption is about UMNO and Barisan Nasional only. I think you're kidding yourselves. If corruption, you think corruption is not happening in Pulau Pinang, in Kelantan, and in Kedah. Now, my proposition is very simple. Let's put corruption where it's supposed to be. It is colorblind, it is race blind, it's political blind. In other words, you really want to eradicate corruption in this country, let's not play politics, whoever it is. Because the moment you say corruption is only committed by UMNO and Barisan Nasional, you will not be able to eradicate corruption. Because then you put walls in front of your eyes so that you don't see the other side of the story. So my point is, last point, very last point, this is the only country, the only government in the world which ties its performance in corruption eradication to CPI, the Corruption Perception Index, which is internationally determined. We put KPI, we are brave enough, this country, this government, Barisan Nasional government, ties its performance on corruption eradication to KPI, to CPI, which is not determined domestically, it is determined internationally. That's how strong and committed we are in eradication corruption.
Thank you very much, a very strong rebuttal. We move on to YB Mujahid.
I have few questions here, which I have to answer first. Based on the issue raised by Senator Gan, we had the honor to debate in the virtual debate in the IP Dato, because he won the like. Everyone goes, I don't know who liked him, but he won, and I'd like to thank you for that. But the issue is when we debate, there is this always the question of MCA going round to the people, telling that PAS wants to create a theocratic state. that has been very consistent on your side too. But we have proven past as a political party recognized by the Constitution, and our Constitution say that whatever strife that we make in politics in this country must be within the context of the federal Constitution. I think that's, what else do you want us to say about this? Unless the MCA is just using this issue to scare away the Chinese vote to the past, to the Pakatan, then that is politics. But as far as we are concerned, they have been very consistent saying that in Sarawak, in the by-election, I'm telling MCA, people don't buy that rubbish anymore. I must ask him why he's so concerned on the Islamic State. So there is no issue. It's a non-issue. It's about corruption. It's about making the government more transparent. When we say we want to put SPRM under the accountability of the parliament, we are talking about transparency. We are talking about accountability. We are talking about we will have more check and balance by the people, because we were sent there to check and balance the government through SPRM. So there is nothing wrong with that. That's another way of looking at it. And then the issue of, I think Kota Belud, my good friend here, which I have the honor to be with you today, although we always sit far from the other divide, but now we are much more close. You bought my book, that's good, okay. We were talking about, see, he was mentioning about the daughter and son and wife thing, you know, I don't know what he meant. But there is two different things. We are talking about here the elected representative is a totally different issue. What we address here is about contracts, giving contracts to your families, to your cronies. This is the issue. There's two different issues here. Okay. And I agree, I totally agree with my good friend. Two right or two wrong doesn't make one right. We are colorblind. Even if it was from Pakatan, if it was from past, my chief minister, my spiritual leader, Tok Guru Ni Aziz, he said, come SPRM, check all my exco's, check me. There was no reason for them to choose. So I think this is, I do not see that all the while when we speak to the public, we are not just saying UMNO and BN is corrupt, although most of them have been put in jail for that. But we are saying this is colorblind. You are right, my good friend. This is colorblind. Whether they're from PAS, whether they're from PKR, whether they're from DAP, they do wrong, go and catch them. I'm not talking about things here emotionally. Just because we are doing it, then it's okay. If others doing it, then it's not okay. I do not think the public understand that. The public understood our message clearly, that we are talking about a better Malaysia, a more transparent. Whoever they are, they must be a transparent government, a just government, a fair government, with all the democratic practices intact. This is what we are doing today. So my time is up. They spoke longer than me. So I think we have to stop this. And also I think UMNO has only one issue to go around and tell people, especially when they go around and tell the Malay people. They go around and tell if Pakatan win, that means all the Malay will be deprived of their right. This is bullshit. I do not believe that. Because in Pakatan Rakyat, we have mentioned clearly in our buku jingga, whether you like the jingga or not, that's your problem. We are saying that, number one, Islam as the state religion is been allocated in the Perlembagaan Persekutuan. We say that other faiths are free to practice. We say about the institusi Raja-Raja Melayu. We say about Bahasa Melayu. We say about the rights and the privilege of the Malay in 153, but not the rights of the privilege of UMNO-cronism. We're talking about the right and belief of the Malay. So I think this is a non-issue. When you start harping on the issue of racial, religious, this is just for your purpose of narrow-minded politics. Stop that nonsense. Let's go forward.
Thank you.
I'm supposed to answer to that?
Sorry?
Yeah, I'm supposed to answer to that,
Yes,
right?
you go ahead.
Now, I had the privilege to engage in Pidato with YB Mujahid, and I must say, over the string of questions that I questions and was not answered. Now, I have no qualms with the political belief, the political ideology of past, which has been very consistent. Pre-independence until now, they want to build a theocratic state. And within the framework of constitution means what? If they have enough number, they want to build that. I can tell you they don't have enough number. They put a lot of pressures on the UMNOs, the Muslim legislator. They will not have numbers within this coming election, and probably not in the next elections, but I don't know when. But even when once they have enough numbers, they probably will implement that. Now, if this is what this nation wants, if this people's wish, we have no choice. But one thing perhaps YB Mujahid hasn't told us. I have questions, Lim Guan Eng. How are you going to deter? Or do you agree with past hudud, implementation of past hudud? Dilly-dally, beating around the bush, not answering. And eventually they said, we agree to disagree, we respect past, especially in their own states. And therefore they insist, they want to implement. And therefore you have the state enactments of justice ousting the power of a civil court, not only the Sharia court. And they start imposing. Eventually, if this nation wants to move towards that, I can imagine as it is now, the parallel system or dual system that we have in the civil law involving Islamic, involving converts. There are not many people involved, but that converts issues until now not resolved, and it's been very difficult. Even that is enough to pain us. Snatching of bodies, snatch of children, about the division of properties. I have no answer for you, ladies and gentlemen. I have no answer for you how we're going to resolve this, because this is also involving the Raja. And of course the sensitivities of the Muslim brothers and sisters. And yet, if you bring in the criminal justice, Islamic criminal justice, if you don't have some basic understanding, Islamic criminal justice, when it's implemented, what sort of nightmare this country is going to face? When you have Muslim and non-Muslim having different criminal justice to administer, and if you have one cohort or one organized crime involving different ethnic communities, people, the punishments and all that will be very different. It is going to be a nightmare to administer this country. Now, I have no qualms if everybody wants it that way. But one thing I must say, YB, I respect your wish to have a theocratic state. No, okay.
You have been saying, you have been repeating
YB,
it,
okay,
saying
fine.
it. We are saying that we
must
are
also admit,
working
I must
under
also
the
admit,
constitution, and that is it.
But do you want to implement past hudud?
No, there is no such thing as past hudud. What
Okay,
it is
now,
that. What are you
fine.
talking about? Do you
No.
know? Do you know anything about hudud? Do you know anything about hudud?
No, I think this
you
is
want to
not
talk
borne
about
out.
hudud?
I think it's not borne out by fact. Kelantan has wanted to implement that, openly say that. Hadi Awang has said that they want to amend, if they're in power, they want to amend the law to impose Adin, and then also the process, through administrative process. No, I must say one thing. If this is solely, it doesn't affect non-Muslim at all, I can understand that. I can fully understand. But it's not the case. They want to impose, if they come into the power, if they manage enough of people, they want to impose your value, you want me your way of life, want me to follow your way of life. Now, YB Mujahid may be a modern past legislator. He may well be. But I'm not so sure about his conservative seniors and the conservative in the past heartland places. And he has a sizable non-Muslim constituency, and I'm glad that he's more accommodative. But I'm not so sure about others. And that is something I'm very worried. If we change a very fundamental structure guaranteed under this constitution, it can be amended as long as you have two-thirds the majority under pressure to amend it. That is, well, maybe if that's what we are facing in future, probably not in my generation, God forbid, but it may be in the next generation. I don't know. But if that's what we want, but if you're saying that this is not your ambition, well and fine. But please say so openly. Please contradict what your Nick Aziz and Hadi Awang has said over the years. And even tell the DAP to say that. DAP has been questioning as well. Eventually cannot, therefore agree to disagree. And if you're saying that we try to scare away Chinese, I'm just putting a fact, putting my view for everybody's assessment. In urban places like Kuala Lumpur, you probably don't really feel it.
But in rural area, in Malay heartland, for example, you probably will feel that a lot more than other places. Now, this is my genuine concern. You may disagree with me, please, but please, this is my genuine concern. Yeah. Thanks.
Malaysiakini.com.
For the Malaysiakini.
For the Malaysiakini.